I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
I haven't got any major problems, and touch wood, hopefully they last.
It's like what you say about health. I had a lovely saying once, and it's when you're well, you wish for 1,000 things, but when you're poorly or someone who you love is ill, you only wish for one thing. That's for either you to get better or for them to get better.
I'm just going to say, it looked like we had a sound issue, but it's now solved. So I don't think they got our 2 gratitudes, Kev. But so I don't know whether you want to say it again or.
Well, I was just grateful for the time I got to spend with me, my wife, and my daughter. We had a long weekend.
Yeah, and me, I was saying very similar to Kev. I went away last week with the family to our caravan. But what I'm most grateful for was the 2 rainy days that we had there. Just because it meant we didn't have to do anything, so we just stopped and watched films. All the family just sat down and watched films for 2 days. It was just great not to have to do anything and just relax.
So could you tell us what the Black Country Woodturning is, or what woodturning is?
Okay, woodturning is basically a part of woodworking. Okay, and essentially it uses a lathe, i.e. a machine that has a motor on one end with some method of clamping a piece of wood on and making it spin around, and then you use metal chisels to shape that wood into whatever you want it to be. It could be chair legs, it could be chest figures, it could be candlesticks, it could be platters, bowls, hollow forms, you name it. So that is essentially woodturning. I mean, generally, the motto is brown and round. Okay. Although, having said that, in sort of most woodturners also work with embellishments, color, texture, pyrography, where you burn little things into the surface, or you use a little Dremel bit to carve surface textures out, and you put color on it and whatever. You know, there's no limit. Wherever the imagination takes you. The Black Country Woodturners is a club. As the name says, we're in the Black Country. Our home base is at the Dudley College in Dudley itself, where we rent a room from them in the back. We meet there once a month in person, and then once a month we also have a Zoom meeting where people sort of just participate via Zoom. I mean, we have at the moment about 40 members. Always varies a little bit, and we're always happy to have more people walk in, and up to a limit. Because the Dudley College have told us that we can only have, I think, 50 people in the room or something like that because of fire security. I mean, okay, but we're not anywhere near that limit. So, whoever wants to come along.
And is it just once a month you get together and do the work, and the rest you do at home?
By and large, yes. But I mean, the club also does all sorts of other events. We, for example, we donate quite a lot of money to the Mary Stevens Hospice. That's our chosen charity, and we participate in a lot of their events. If they put something up in public, then we generally are there with a stand to sort of entertain people, and also sell some of our bits, hopefully, and whatever we sell there goes back to the hospice as a donation. And there's numerous other sort of events, generally community events around the Black Country where we try to participate.
So we spoke off air that you had a job before in South Africa that was nothing related to woodwork at all. How did you come to be a professional woodturner?
Oh, that's a bit of a story. I mean, my brother and I, we always, as kids, we built little model aeroplanes. not the plastic ones, the wooden ones, with little combustion engines, and then we flew them with remote control. And then as I went through life, that sort of went to sleep, and I didn't really have much time. And in South Africa, my first marriage fell apart, and then I had a lot of time in my hands, so I started model building again, especially scratch-built ship models, completely from wood. And scratch-built meaning you only have a plan. You make all the parts yourself, everything. Okay. That went for a couple of years, and we had to leave South Africa and arrived here in the UK. Couldn't do much for a couple of years, and eventually ended up in a place where I had a little garden house that offered me the opportunity again, and I kitted it out to start that model building, the ship model building again, and then I bought myself an engineering lathe. I.e. a metal lathe, actually, and then my stepson came along and said, "Ooh, can I have a go? Can I have a go?" So I thought, what do we do? So I said, I know, we make a mallet. So we made a mallet. I still use it to this day. Yeah. Then my wife came along and said, "Oh, can I have a go?" And I said, "Okay." And we made a kitchen roll holder, which we still use to this day. And that's and then I started just faffing around with pieces of wood and completely unsuitable tools. Didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I had a lot of fun. And that's when I thought, maybe I should research this. Maybe that there must be more to this. And I found out there was a lot more. And by that time, it was already way too late. The bug was in.
You've been gripped.
Yes, completely. And then I took some tuition from some professional woodturners, and that's when I started looking around, and I thought, really, it would make a sense if there was a local community, a local club or something, to join them and sort of exchange ideas, maybe learn from other people, that sort of stuff. And I found the Black Country Woodturners. That was, I think, 10 years ago. At the time, they were struggling to keep or get members. Their membership, including myself, was 18 at the time. But then after 2 years or so, the most of the committee at the time retired and said, we don't want to do it anymore. So a new committee was elected, and I stood up and I said, okay, I'm going to be the webmaster. I'll build you a new website. And we had the good luck of having found a few people who are happy and willing to put a lot of energy in. So now we have a membership of about 40, some varies a little bit, 40 to 45, and we're in a happy place. And we can offer a good program to our members. We have demo evenings where we have other professional woodturners come along and show us what they do. We have hands-on events where people, new members can learn from the more experienced ones. And then, as I said, we do these community events like the Mary Stevens stuff and various other bits where we just sort of, we try and find new members, but we also sort of promote the craft as such. And yeah.
Yeah, I think people are probably wondering why you kind of come on a mental health podcast, and I think because it all relates. We've said this many times before, that you have to find your medicine that helps you get through life, and having a community like that with a common interest gets people out of the house. Number one, there's nothing worse than sitting in your house and having that mental strain onto yourself, and it's a good outlet because. Me and Kev have been on a journey before where we've drank too much and done this and done that and done the kind of the bad things to try and help our mental health. And now we do this podcast, which is a positive to help ours. And it's the same with that, isn't it? It gets people out the house. You've created a community and you're all there for a common cause.
Absolutely. And I mean, I am one of the more active club members doing it full time now, There are other club members who are quite active, but we have a lot of club members who don't do a lot of wood turning, but they still come to our meetings because it's a nice way for them to get out of the house, have a good conversation with people that they share a common interest with, have a coffee, have a chat, and So I'm pretty sure there's quite a fair few of them who would otherwise, yes, just sit at home and not do much other than watching TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
What would you say your most favourite thing, or the thing you're most proud of making?
me.
Yeah.
Ha! Oh God! What kind of question? The most in terms of wood or in life general.
No, well, we'll go with wood
We'll go with
first.
both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I have 2 children from my first marriage who are quite high achievers, both of them. My son is a doctor and works in the university hospital in Basel in Switzerland. And my daughter is a psychologist, and she works for Capgemini somewhere in Germany, in Berlin, I believe. So, I'm quite proud of having put 2 young people into life that have achieved well. Along with that goes my stepson, Michael, who came along when I met my second wife. He was 3 years old. Stroppy little bastard he was then. But now he is a very successful project manager. And I reckon in about 2 years' time, he will earn about as much money as I ever did. And he's not even 30 yet.
Yeah.
So he's very good with people. He's and I'm proud of the fact that I and my second wife would be together. We have basically put things in front of him, allowed him to grow into a confident young man. That clearly is successful. And I mean, what more can you want from your children?
Yeah. And as in woodwork, what thing stands out there?
Woodwork, yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I've done so many beautiful things. I mean, I via the club, the Black Country Woodturners, we are also associated with the Association of Woodturners of Great Britain, the AWGB, and they have a seminar every 2 years where they invite international woodturners. So you get to see people that come from all over the world, Norway, France, Italy, Greece, USA, you name it, Canada, and everybody who goes, sorry for that. Everybody who goes to that seminar is allowed to bring a couple of pieces along, who will be displayed, which will be displayed in what they call an instant gallery. And then on the second or third day, the judges go around and pick from that instant gallery 50 pieces that will go on a 2-year tour throughout the UK.
Yeah.
So wherever the AWGB has a stand, or where they can find place in a gallery or so. I'm sorry, I need to drink a lot.
You carry on.
That's better. They put up a display of these pieces. I have been to 3 seminars, and every single time a piece of mine has been picked to go on tour.
Oh, brilliant. Because I think, like, sometimes the way I say is like when you're creative, as in painting or make things out of wood or writing, you can actually see it. Kind of like, like an architect can see he's made a beautiful building, a beautiful thing, and that becomes rewarding because you're seeing what you can create.
Absolutely.
And I think like with someone like that who might not be an outward speaker or can't communicate as how he might do, but he communicates with his art. And I think sometimes it must be lovely for some people within your club and they go, you know what, I made that chess piece, or I made that bowl, or
yes, absolutely. And I mean, for me, that was also an important aspect because in my main career, I worked in IT. Okay. And a lot of stuff that goes in IT is just inside the computer. You can't really put your hands on it, right? You write a piece of software, but it's not anything tangible, and then you go into your workshop and you take a piece of wood, and then an hour later you come out of your workshop and you have a candlestick,
yeah,
or a bowl, or whatever. Okay, and yes, you're right. That is very satisfying, and I think a lot of club members also get that satisfaction from making something with their hands.
And was it like, from you, to anyone who's listening, might realise your accent isn't naturally from the Black Country.
No, I'm not.
And was it nice to, like, was it a good way of meeting new people and being part of the community?
That was definitely good, although I have to confide in you that when I arrived here 21 years ago, I did struggle a bit with that Black Country accent.
We still do now.
It makes me laugh because people who have studied English at the highest level, and they go, but you guys don't speak English around the Black Country. And it's because it's such a thick dialect. It's not even an accent, is it?
I remember Michael was, I don't know, 6 or 7. So we would have been here, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. No, only 2 years, maybe 1 or 2 years. And we took a Sunday afternoon walk along the canals here, you know, and we ran into some guy who was doing some fishing in the canals. And Michael showed some interest. So Helen says, that's my second wife, she says, why don't you go ahead with Michael and then ask this guy some questions, and I'm sure he can explain to you. So I woke up to this guy and said to him, hello, my name is Wolfgang. This is my stepson, Michael. Michael is really interested in what you're doing here. Would you mind explaining to him? So this guy looked at Michael and said, yeah, sure. And it went on for 5 minutes. So when he was finished, I looked at him and said, wow, that was interesting. I'm pretty sure my wife would like to hear that. Would you mind? So I called Helen over and said to this guy, this is my wife. Would you mind? You know, and he says, oh yeah, of course. And so when he's finished, we both thanked him very much, walked on our merry way. And as we walked away, and now Helen is born in the Peak District, okay, Harrington. So she calls herself a simple English country girl, okay. And so we walked away, and I said to her, sort of quietly, I said, "Do you understand any of that?" And she said, "Not a word."
That's got to be the worst Black Country accent I've heard, though, to be honest, Wolfgang.
And I mean, it obviously varies, and I'm fully aware that I still have a German accent. Yes, I've lost my teacher. My wife says she can't hear it any longer, so this is just the way I talk. So now.
It is a funny old place, isn't it? And I think the people around here are very kind, very genuine. They just can't speak very good English.
Can't have everything.
It varies, you know. I mean,
getting back onto the club. So, if I was to come to your club as a person who's never done any kind of wood turn in his life, what would I expect? Do you have the tools there for me to kind of get going? Do I get going on the first day, or is it? Do you know?
Obviously, it depends what kind of meeting you come to. You know, if you come to a demo evening, then basically everybody sits in the audience and watches a professional woodturner demonstrate a particular subject, like a particular technique or whatever. You know, there's a large variety of things. So you don't get to do much yourself. However, there are also quite a few hands-on meetings where the specific purpose really is that people like you would come in and team up with a more experienced club member, and then they say, okay, show me how to do this, show me how to do that. When I do that, this always happens. Why is that? And then you can learn from the more. It's basically free tuition. It's once a month, yeah. You know. But yes, you could come. You wouldn't have to have a lathe. You don't need to have tools. You could just and we don't force people to become members right away. You know, you come along for 1 or 2 meetings free of charge. Have a good snoop around, figure out whether this might be for you or not, and then take it from there.
And how would you become a member?
Basically, when on all of these meetings, there are some members of the committee there, of the club committee, and they can take on your details, forward them to the membership secretary, and there's a form to fill in, and then there's a little fee to pay, which basically covers insurance, AWGB membership, and the room that we hire at the Dudley College. You know, that's basically the things that have to be covered, and that's it. Quick and easy.
Yeah.
We don't really have any age restrictions, but we generally, anybody who's younger than 16 has to be accompanied by a consenting adult. I mean, you know all of this, I presume,
I think that'd be great, though, to be able to take your son along or your daughter along and do it as a shared experience, kind of.
Creating something together.
Yeah, that's it, creating something together, because I couldn't tell you last time I did that with my son, unless it was playing on video games, something out there, something that's a bit more real. And yeah.
I mean, there's the only limit really is that in order to use a lathe, you have to be a certain height,
Right.
unless we put lots of pallets under you. It can be done, and you don't need a lot of strength. There are very few things in wood turning that require muscle. Okay.
So the machine's doing the work.
Yes,
and the tools.
You're just guiding the tools to be in the right place at the right time, and the machine basically does the cutting. If you have to use strength, it's most likely you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. It's obviously something, and this is why we have to have insurance. You're dealing with pieces of wood going around at anywhere between 500 and 3,000 RPM, and the tools are sharp. So, if you don't watch out, you can get hurt. This is why you have to have insurance. But the club provides that insurance, that's included in the club membership fee.
And that's what's great about having professionals there. You're less likely to get injured with someone who's been there and done it and can show you. Because no doubt you can do that dangerously without realising.
I have made mistakes.
Right.
And I've hurt myself quite a bit. I've got lucky. Okay. It could have ended up a lot worse. But yes, I have had accidents. So I've learned my lessons. Yes, it's you should always ask somebody who's a bit experienced whether this is safe or not until you're confident enough yourself, to judge the situation.
Well, that's great. I think that's everything for today then. But you said a lovely saying at this. So I would like to finish with a quote or a saying. And what was that saying you said to me earlier?
I think I mentioned to you earlier that there's a saying going around in wood turning circles, which applies to just about anything in life, though. It's that the master has failed more often than the beginner has tried. And I think that applies everywhere, yeah.
And I think that does. Because we're saying, like, people see, it's easy for you to have these muscles. And you go, but you didn't see the journey that I had to go through to get to be this good.
Look, everybody starts out as a total beginner. I did.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know the right end of the tool from the wrong end. I used completely unsuitable tools, had no idea. And 10 years later, I'm doing it for a living. So essentially, I mean, I could have cut this short by taking up a proper apprenticeship, which would have taken 3 years. But I needed to pay off a mortgage in the meanwhile.
Yeah.
So I did it as a hobby. Yeah, you can still get there, yes.
Well, thank you ever so much for coming on. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go? Is there anything else you want to say about your organisation or?
Basically, all I want to say is, everybody is welcome. There's basically no age limit other than being physically able to do the thing. We certainly welcome any minorities, any gender. There's no limit at all. Okay, the more the merrier. And membership is not expensive. We charge £40 a year, and then there's and as I said, most of that goes into room rental and things like that. There are a few extra charges for some of the demos, because professional woodturners, they charge a fee, and we have to cover that. And it's I think it's a good crowd. There's a lot of friendliness going around, a bit of banter. We have never had any hostility or anything like that in any of the club meetings. And I've been a member of that club for nigh on 10 years now. So, you know, if anybody is interested in woodworking, maybe this is something interesting, or if they just want to get out of the house, we're happy to have them.
That's
Fantastic.
Well, guys, until we see you next time, I want you all to take care of yourselves and each other. Try a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.